the gentleman from Michigan. I think the gentleman from Michigan has been recognized already, so we may need on the amendment. Remember?
Well,
actually, on the bill. So we don't have any amendment. So the question is, and the gentleman from New York's been recognized, so what purpose does the gentleman from Tennessee seek recognition?
Word.
The gentleman from Tennessee is recognized for 5
I'd like to ask the chair, there is a bill, I presume it's in this committee, that Mr. Conyers and Mr. Jones have filed to insulate and protect the special counsel from being fired without cause, and particular other standards that are in that bill. Is that not relevant for this committee to discuss, and shouldn't that be something that we should look at rather?
Let me just say that I think that the authority of a president of the United States to take actions with regard to personnel is very clear, and the president has also made it clear that he has no intention of firing a special counsel. So I don't agree that
Mr.
that
Chair,
needs to be taken up.
the president has said he said he was in favor of Lamar Alexander's bill before he said he was not in favor of Lamar Alexander's bill. The president changed from day to day. The president never declared he wasn't going to fire Comey, but he fired Comey. The president has been encouraged by Steve Bannon and Jim Robertson and the Wall Street Journal to fire Comey. The president responds not with his intellect and what's best politically and the safest thing to do, thinking Lindsey Graham is right that holy hell will be raised if he fires a special prosecutor, but he responds with his personal belief that he has been attacked or threatened in some way. And when somebody comes at him like Mr. Comey did and like Mr. Mueller has, there's a goodly chance he will fire him. But the issue is, what standards should there be to determine whether he should be fired? The president is not the king. We fought a war to see we didn't have a king. The president does not have unlimited powers. And when the president's being investigated by a special counsel established by law to look into charges that he has basically mutilated our democracy, then we should look into that bill that Mr. Conyers has filed, and that should be our first priority. You may not want to interfere with what Mr. Mueller does, and I understand that. And what Mr. Sensenbrenner says about granting immunity, that's all fine and good. But the whole idea of whether he should be fired and under what standards should he be fired, it's not the issue of whether or not you believe Trump's not going to fire him. It's what the law should be if he changes his mind, and for the next president and the next president. So I would ask you to schedule that bill for a hearing.
The gentleman yield?
Yes.
The standards by which the president must conduct himself with regard to firing employees is set forth in the United States Constitution. I suggest you read it.
I've read the Constitution, sir, and on the special counsel there are specific standards that come to be met through statute. And I yield to Mr. Conyers, who has the bill, and would like to ask him about, does he think this committee should take up that bill and look into the standards by which the special counsel could be fired?
I thank the gentleman for yielding, and of course that's why we introduced it in the first place. And I would like to discuss with the chairman and you as well how soon we can get to the bill. I think sooner is better.
Thank you, Mr. Conyers. I'm all for this bill before us on female genital mutilation, but I'm also in favor of not mutilating our democracy and not mutilating our Constitution and not mutilating our special counsel. And this committee has a duty to look into seeing that the special counsel cannot be fired at the whim and caprice of the President of the United States. He is not the king. He is not the sole decider, the arbitrator. He is a servant of the people, and he should serve our democracy in a way that people feel like it is fair and just, and everybody is subject to the law. And if the special counsel is not immunized or made clear that the standards are such that he has a right of review and he can only be fired for abuse of his powers or for some other purpose.
Will the gentleman yield?
Sure.
I have a Constitution here in my hand. Could he please tell me which article and which section prohibits the president from firing any executive branch employee? I haven't been able to find one.
Well, the laws of this, we already have set standards by which the special counsel can be fired. And Mr. Conyers and Mr. Jones's bill make it clear that there are stronger standards. And yes, there
Gentlemen,
may
do
not
it
be any
again.
prohibition, but that doesn't mean that there cannot be a restriction. And the special counsel is a special type of employee who is not necessary,
gentlemen-
especially when he's
will the gentleman yield
investigating.
again?
No, I won't. Especially when he's investigating the President of the United States for collusion with Russia, for destroying our democracy, and for flaunting his and his campaign associates' activities with Russia, which they have constantly lied about. And this committee is being made a mockery and a joke of by not taking up any issues at all dealing with that. We have a duty to do it, and we should be having this bill before us now. I yield back the balance of my time.
Mr. Chairman.
What